Good day everyone. Now let's talk about the other Southeast Asian artworks in Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and Vietnam.
When most of us think of Indonesian art, we think about the traditional, exotic, and sacred. However, this focus does not encapsulate how Indonesia's long history of economic, political, and social change is reflected in its art.
Indonesia is centrally located along ancient trading routes between the Far East, South Asia, and the Middle East, resulting in many cultural practices being strongly influenced by a multitude of religions, including Buddhism, Christianity, Confucianism, Hinduism, and Islam, all strong in the major trading cities. Indonesia's famous form of art. Carving and painting are among the best known of Indonesia's visual art traditions. While in Java, the leather puppets for wayang kulit performances are fastidiously carved and painted so as to cast a lightly tinted, lace-like shadow when held against an illuminated screen. Indonesia also has an especially rich and varied tradition of textile design. Batik making, practiced almost exclusively on Java, involves a complex wax resistance process in which all parts of a cloth that are not to be dyed are coated on both sides with wax before the cloth is dipped into dye. The art of weaving is highly developed. It includes the famous ikat method in which the thread is dyed selectively before weaving by binding fibers around the groups of threads. The famous artist of Indonesia. Now let's go to Thailand. Thai artist was influenced by indigenous civilizations of the Moon and Khmer by the Sukhothai and Ayutthaya period. Thai had developed into its own unique style and was later further influenced by the other Asian styles, mostly by Sri Lankan and Chinese. Temple plays an important role in Thai everyday life. People go to a temple to pray for good health, good fortune, and wealth. They also seek life advice from the monks living in temples. Traditional Thai art and craft ranges from paintings and musical instruments to beautiful silk, silverware, pottery, puppet, cone and mask, modal worship, bronzeware, soap carvings, sculptures, wood and stone carvings, ceramic, and much more. The famous artist of Thailand. Kapunakap. And now, let's move on to Malaysian art. The traditional Malaysian art is primarily composed of Malay art and Bornean art. It is very similar with the other styles from the Southeast Asia such as Bornean, Indonesian, and Singaporean. Art has a long tradition in Malaysia, with Malay art that dating back to the Malay Sultanates has always been influenced by Chinese, Indian, and Islamic arts and also present due to large population of Chinese and Indian in today's Malaysian demographic. Here are the famous artworks in Malaysia. The famous artists of Malaysia are Idi Putera, Nortijan Firdaus, Anikitni Majan, Red Hong Yi, Song Fi Gyap, and Sok Kuyuk. And lastly, let's go to Vietnam. Under Chinese rule, Vietnamese artists began to protect calligraphy, painting, and poetry, and created works out of porcelain, lacquer, and terracotta. Poetry-inspired paintings largely depicted landscapes, birds, mountains, and usually incorporated calligraphy, all hallmarks of ancient Chinese works. Vietnamese art is one of the most celebrated styles in the world. From humble clay pots created during the Stone Age to modern, electric installation decorating Vietnam's biggest cities, the unique styles of Vietnamese art have thrived despite centuries of Chinese and French imperialism. Here are some of the famous arts in Vietnam. Here are some of the famous artists in Vietnam. Cảm ơn vì đã lắng nghe. The artists in the Southeast Asian countries that has been discussed also apply the principles of art, which is the balance, proportion, rhythm, unity, and variety that aids them to organize elements within the work of art. Like what you have watched in the discussion, the beautiful painting, ceramics, landscape, goldwork, temples, and prints that highlights the Southeast Asian countries has applied those elements. They use this to create effect and help convey the people's attention.